Welcome to I Love This Thing So Fricking Much, a podcast about passion. My name is Sophie Katz, and today I am joined by Pana, a former stormtrooper of the Empire. Welcome back to the show, Pana.
Thanks, Sophie. I'm doing great and ready to talk about some stuff.
Excellent. So here's how this works. Pana will have 3 minutes to talk about something that he loves. This can be a person, place, thing, concept, activity, anything he wants. Our only requirement is that he loves it wholeheartedly and wants to tell us why. Are you ready, Pana?
I am absolutely ready.
Good. Got my timer here. Now, what do you love so freaking much?
I freaking love Dragon Con. So Dragon Con, if you don't know, is a pop culture convention, and it's the largest on the East Coast. And the reason I love it is there's a whole bunch of different fandoms that come together and just celebrate being you, like no matter what that would be. So you have like stormtroopers mingling with Doctor Who people, mingling with Lord of the Rings people, and it's all over the place. It's everywhere. It's the biggest fruit salad of fandom you can ever find. That being said, the reason I love it so much is because I love cosplay, specifically Star Wars cosplay, which I know is something that you know a little something about. To give you a background, I was part of the 501st Legion, which is the stormtrooper group, and that's how I got my start. I remember going to Dragon Con and just being like, wow, I want to be like these guys, which is wearing a large amount of white plastic. But really that sort of evolved into like developing friendships and like camaraderie with a lot of people from all sorts of different like backgrounds and fandoms, formerly strangers who I now find myself sitting at a bar having a beer with. But really, it's about like, it gives a chance for people to sort of live out who they want to be without judgment, because everyone there is, quote, weird, right? We're out of the social norm in terms of what we love, actually how much we love it, not necessarily what we love, but how much we love it. I mean, you think about it and how many people want to, invest a whole bunch of money so they can be a live action figure. And there are people out there, guys like me, but really, like, you form these lifelong friendships and bonds with people. And it's really just 5 days that spans like 5 different hotels of people just celebrating being who we are and what we love. So it's really just like this podcast. You love it wholeheartedly and you love it passionately, but it's a gathering of 200,000 people that love things wholeheartedly. It's actually just a wonderful thing to be around. And I've gotten so many people that are, quote, outsiders or like muggles, who don't understand why we love what we love. And then they go and then they're just floored by it. They discover themselves a little bit about like, wow, I really do love this thing. I really do love dressing up and being someone else and meeting other people who are like-minded. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Go ahead and finish your thought.
To sum it all up, it's a wonderful place to be. And if you really, really like love something, go for it. No one's going to judge you here.
That's awesome. Thank you for telling us about Dragon Con today.
Oh, no problem.
I am really honestly touched that you compared this convention to my podcast, because that really is the heart of these conversations, is just express how much you love the thing that you love so freaking much.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more about what it was like that first time you were at Dragon Con and you discovered this convention, discovered the 501st.
I've loved Star Wars since I was a little kid. I mean, my first movie memory was seeing Return of the Jedi in 1983 in the theater, and I've just always been fascinated with it. So when I got to finally go to this convention, I was just like, I saw these guys who, and most people would probably think, well, this is really kind of a strange thing. But I saw these guys dressed up in white plastic, and at the time they were fairly small. In fact, I have a TK ID, which is like an assigned ID number that they give you that you carry for life. And so I thought to myself, I really want to do this. And so I remember saving a whole bunch of money to like buy my first set of armor and all this stuff. And I found this whole brotherhood that like, a lot of people join these, book club or whatever. Well, I just joined a group of guys who like to make armor and wear it and parade it around. And we do cool things like go to children's hospitals and make kids happy and charitable work. And it's fulfilling for me.
Absolutely. You're sharing your love of something. You make something out of that love, and then you go to other people who also love the thing and you put a smile on their face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk a little more about the community you found because of Dragon Con.
I can attest to the fact that like in high school, there's a type of person, that like feels awkward and doesn't feel like they belong. And I think here I found where those people go to get together. And then you start realizing you're not alone. It gives you a sense of purpose, no matter how kind of ridiculous it sounds to the general public. It's a sense of belonging to something greater, to something bigger, even if it is just like a fandom about Star Wars, or next year I'm planning on making a set of like Lord of the Rings armor. it spans all kinds of fandoms, and you just gotta love it, you know?
Well, once you mentioned 200,000 people across 5 hotels coming together for this event that's all about, hey, here's all this nerdy stuff that we like. Let's talk about and show about how much we love it. It's kind of hard to feel like you're the only one who likes this stuff when you're surrounded by 200,000 people.
Yeah. And it's really just a bunch of love. No one's going to judge you. That's the main thing. There's no judgment. And the cosplay community and the fandom community in general, there's no shaming going on. In fact, it's very, very frowned upon, and you won't be called out for it if you end up doing something like that. And you got to love a community that preaches like love thy neighbor, but in this case, love thy neighbor who's kind of just about as geeky as you are.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you've noticed that sets Dragon Con apart from other pop culture conventions? Because there are a lot of them.
The main thing is that it is a fan-run convention. If you go to like San Diego Comic-Con, they have corporate sponsors. And Dragon Con, hence the website .org, is very much a fan-driven thing. It's been this way since the inception of it. So we don't have a lot of the big time guests because those guests are paid for by studios and stuff like that to come and make an appearance. Our guests come, even though we do get some fairly big name guests, they come of their own accord. That's really what sets it apart, is that like it's for the fans by the fans. And it's successfully continued to do this for several decades now.
Who are some of the coolest guests or people you've been most excited to see at Dragon Con?
Like the cast of Firefly.
Ooh.
That was a big one. This year, we have Elijah Wood and Sean Astin. So yeah, there's a bunch. I have sat down and had a beer with Peter Mayhew, who you might know as Chewbacca. May he rest in peace. And Ray Park and Daniel Logan. There's just a whole bunch of standout guests there. And they all are there just to have fun and mingle with the guests. And I find that most of the time, the guests who do come mainly because like they love to be around the guests who celebrate their work and really understand it.
You have to hope that the people who make these beloved things, this beloved content, also love what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. You realize that like Ray Park is one of the coolest guys ever. He always plays these menacing characters, but the guy just was having a beer with me, having like, just a regular old chat with me. And it's like fun. You have to understand that they're also people too, and they love what they do. And most of the time when you meet them, they're just there to have fun too. And most of the time they just are out drinking with the guests and having a good time.
Is there anything that you don't like about Dragon Con? And if so, how do you handle that?
Well, since it is such a gathering of like-minded people, there'll always be those who like come to quote gawk at the nerds, and like they come and they start trouble. Or I've seen some bad behavior from a lot of like, usually they have a college football bowl game happening in Atlanta around the same time, and they come and they start trouble, and there's been fights and things like that, with which it's like Grasshopper and the ants. Yeah, you might have been cool in high school as the jock, but you're really surrounded by a whole bunch of ants now. So it's rare, and most of the time a lot of people will jump in to defend their own. Like I said before, it's a place that's just very protective of its people, and like no matter what you love or whatever, they will jump in and they'll defend you, and they'll do what's right. They'll tell people, they don't belong, like, to the people who are encroaching or whatever. It's not that we're not inclusive. There are plenty of fans of like football or whoever who just come and like look, who are genuinely interested. Certainly there's enough people out there who love sports and science fiction or whatever. It's just a lot of times, which leads to my second thing, which is like, drinking culture, which a lot of times causes a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for someone who might be coming to Dragon Con for the first time?
Don't be shy. I tell people all the time, like, don't be shy, because like if you love someone's costume and if you love something they do, don't be afraid to just go up and ask them about it. Because like chances are they love it so much. They love it so freaking much that they will talk your ear off more than 3 minutes for sure. And they'll be happy to share whatever experience in case you want to get involved with it as well.
Pana, thank you so much for telling us about something you love today.
You're absolutely welcome.
And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in today. If you'd like to learn more about Dragon Con, you can find the link to dragoncon.org in the episode description. And if you have something you love so freaking much you want to tell me all about it, consider this your invitation to join the show. I Love This Thing So Freaking Much is a production of Through the Window Media. This episode was directed and edited by Sophie A. Katz. You can find us at Through the Window on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. That is THROU the Window at all the social media sites. Be good to yourself, be kind to each other, and you'll hear from us again soon.